What's up, book lovers? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing another reading vlog, and this time I'm going to be reading The Firm by John Grisham. So I've never read any John Grisham book before, so this will be my first ever John Grisham book. I know of his name. He's a pretty prolific author in his own right, but for some reason I've just never picked up any of his book until now. I got this book secondhand, and I know that it's one of his most popular works. It's so popular, in fact, that there was actually a movie based off of this novel, and Tom Cruise was starring in it. I'm pretty excited to read this book. Based on the summary, which I will read to you in a moment, it seems to be a legal mystery, and I don't think I've read any legal mysteries in recent memory, so this is going to be an interesting ride. This book was also published in 1991, so there's probably going to be a lot of outdated sentiments. That's going to be something I expect moving forward, but I do have high expectations because this is John Grisham, and he's kind of pretty well known. Now let me read to you the summary of what this is about. So let's see. The law student. He was young and had his dreams. He'd qualified third in his class at Harvard. Now offers poured in from every law firm in America. The firm. They were small but well respected. They were prepared to match and then exceed Mitch's wildest dreams. $80,000 a year, which is a number I don't think really is that extraordinary in this day and age, but this was 1991. A BMW and a low interest mortgage. Soon the house, the car, and the job are his. Then the nightmares begin. The secret files, the bugs in the new bedroom, the mysterious deaths of colleagues, and the millions of dollars of mob money pouring through the office into the Cayman Islands, dollars that the FBI will do anything to trace. Now Mitch stands alone in the place where dreams end and nightmares begin. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to dive in. Just a fair warning, this video is going to contain spoilers. So if this book has been on your TBR, and if you haven't read this before and you do intend to in the future, this is your sign to go pick it up and read it with me, and then come back and watch my reading vlog. But if you're here to stay and are interested in seeing how I feel about the book, I hope you stick around. I want to record real-time reactions as I read through this book. I hope there's going to be a lot of interesting twists, and yeah, there's nothing left to say except let's get into it, and I'll see you later for the update. I'm back for the first update. So I'm now 15% into the book, and so far there's a whole lot of world building. Basically, it's the author keeping the promises that he has made in the summary, which is that there is a firm. It's called Bandini, Lambert, and Locke, and they are shady AF. Why? Because not only do they seem to have, you know, ties to the mob as per the summary, the author lets us know just how shitty they are because they don't hire people of color or women. And let me just read to you what it says in the book. The firm had never hired a black. They managed this by being secretive and clubbish and never soliciting job applications. Other firms solicited and hired blacks. This firm recruited and remained lily white. Yep. And if you think that's bad, get a load of this. There were no women in the firm. That mistake had been made in the mid-70s when they recruited the #1 grad from Harvard, who happened to be a she and a wizard at taxation. She lasted 4 turbulent years and was killed in a car wreck. Yeah. In the beginning, we see our main character, whose name is Mitchell McDear, or Mitch McDear, come in for an interview with this firm. And he's got a very impressive resume on top of being a white man. From what it looks like, he fits the bill in what the firm is looking for. Mitch graduated from Harvard at the top of his grade. And prior to that, he went to Western Kentucky, where he played quarterback. And that's where he got a scholarship from, by playing football for Western Kentucky. Apparently, he grew up pretty impoverished, with a mom who succumbed to addiction, one brother dead, the other missing. The firm all knows this because apparently they did a background check on him. Mitch takes it all in stride, even lays some boundaries, and I gotta say, he seems so hyper capable that I fear we have a Gary Stu in our hands. Because there's this one scene that kind of made me cringe a little. Because in this scene, Lamar Quinn, one of the associates in the interview, kind of offhandedly mentions, going to Western Kentucky isn't really that impressive. Obviously, it's worded in a way that's less insulting, but you can catch kind of the undertone that he was underestimating that it's not an Ivy League university. And Mitch is like, well, Kansas isn't any better either. And everyone in the room's like, whoa. He probably looked into the directory and it was able to remember all of the backgrounds of the lawyers in the firm, even Lamar Quinn, who graduated from this university. And it's like, okay, remembering these small details is why he graduated at the top of Harvard. You're a wizard, Mitch. Seems very Gary Stewish to me, but hopefully, it's only been 15%, so hopefully I'm wrong. Pretty soon, Mitch and his wife Abby moved to Memphis. Abby seems to be a pretty down-to-earth woman. She meets with Lamar's wife and she kind of feels some red flags going on about the firm, because apparently the firm not only offered Mitch a very competitive and very hard to turn down salary, but she also kept mentioning how the firm prefers if the associates and partners have their own houses. The firm approves of the associates having children, and they frown upon, drinking and smoking and womanizing, and it's really very cult-like. And Abby's like, why does the firm have a say in what their employees are doing in their personal lives? So the book is written in third person omniscient point of view. And I really thought that it was going to be some sort of mystery. And we'd only be following Mitch really and maybe Abby, but we actually as readers know what's going on off the bat. We also are shown what the firm exactly is doing behind the scenes, so nothing is really hidden from us. For example, in the fifth floor of the building, we find out that that is where the surveillance room is. So the head of security is the one in charge of keeping tabs on all of the employees, mainly the associates in the firm. And we find out that not only was Mitch, put through a very extensive background check, they're still actively following him now. To the point where they actually know how many times him and Abby have sex, and it's like, that is creepy. The book goes pretty in depth with just how sinister the firm can be. And they reveal pretty early on who they have connections to in the mob in Chicago, some guy named Lazarov. So I'm curious as to know where this is going and how Mitch is gonna be involved. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to reading the book and update you when I know more. So now I'm about 35% into the book, and things have started to pick up a little bit more. So Mitch has started working fully with the firm, and the hours are brutal. Abby's not happy about it. He's barely home. He has to work with a partner in one of their cases, obviously, because he's the new guy, he's there to assist. And not only does he work so many hours on this case, but he also has to study for the bar exam. The firm did say that, one of the lawyers in their firm will help him study for the bar exam, but he barely has time to even study. And we also get confirmation that it was Lazarov that ordered the two lawyers who were working with the FBI, Hodge and Kaczynski, to be killed and make it look like it was a drowning incident. And so because of what happened with Hodge and Kaczynski, Lazarov ordered for all the associates, not the partners, to be bugged. And they also naturally bugged Mitch and Abby's place. And oh my god, I don't know about this book mentioning about, knowing when Abby and Mitch have sex, but this is basically the second time that they've mentioned this. Nothing says these men are bad news than getting off on invading another person's privacy. On top of that, there are some tension going on between Abby and Mitch because obviously Mitch is putting in so many hours at work and Abby's not happy about it. But eventually, Mitch finally takes the bar exam, and lo and behold, he gets the highest grade. Once again, Gary's too, everybody. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm very happy about that. I mean, it's not that I don't believe people are not capable of doing this, but putting on 90 hours a week of working and studying, barely sleeping, and still getting the highest score, it doesn't really make me connect to Mitch, you know? So yeah, classic Gary Stew, I fear, but we are pushing through it. Because his name was published in the paper along with the other lawyers that passed the bar exam. He was then approached by an FBI agent, i.e., the guy that was talking with Hodge and Kaczynski. And so he approaches Mitch and he's like, better be careful of that firm. They're bad news. And just be careful because they may be listening and recording what you say in your house, in your car, and in the office. And so Mitch is like, what? And he goes directly to Lamar. He mentions it to him that an FBI agent had approached him, and it all became a thing. He was summoned to the director's office, and he tells them that the FBI agent approached him, talked to him about like not everything in the firm is legally done. And because Mitch is hyper competent, he obviously leaves out the part where the FBI mentions that he's been bugged or being surveilled. And he also leaves out the fact that the FBI agent gave him his number because they didn't want to take any chances. But to be fair, I probably would have been the same as well if like an FBI agent came up to me and be like, you better be careful. I probably would also listen to them. So Mitch asked them, like, were the deaths of the lawyers really an accident? And they're like, truthfully, we don't know. We think that a native of the island killed him because they had connections to drugs, but those authorities there can't find any proof, blah blah blah. And so yeah, all that. Then Mitch was like, well, it's the firm dealing with illegal stuff. And they're like, no, for sure not. We are skirting the law, but we are still within the bounds of the law. So we do butt heads with the FBI and the IRS from time to time because, you know, a lot of our clients are pretty rich and they don't like to pay taxes. Still pretty true 30 years in. While the surveillance of Mitch intensifies, he goes to visit his brother, and we finally find out where his missing brother is. His brother is apparently in prison. His brother's name is Ray. He was incarcerated for murder and was given 15 years in prison without parole. And Mitch is asking him about his old cellmate who had been a cop that was incarcerated for statutory. Apparently, the girl he slept with was 17, looked like an adult basically, and then he got blamed for it. Anyway, the old cellmate's name is Eddie Lomax, and he became friends with Ray, not just because they were old cellmates, but because Ray also saved his life in prison, because people in prison do not take kindly to files and cops, so he was doubly that. But anyway, Eddie Lomax gets out of jail and he becomes a private investigator, and so Mitch goes there to his office and he hires Eddie to look into deaths of the lawyers in the firm. Not the two that had just occurred, but actually there had been 3 other lawyers that had died prior. One of them was the woman that we had mentioned before that died in a car wreck. Anyway, they send Mitch to Cayman Islands because that's where they're dealing. There's a lot of dealings that go on in the Cayman Islands. They have a client there. And so Mitch goes to the Cayman Islands and promptly cheats on his wife. Okay, so I'm not happy about the cheating, but I'm kind of okay with him being able not to be able to resist temptation. The dilemma. At least he's not totally 100% Gary's through. So that is sort of a bit of a relief, but he nearly was as well, because like there was another girl that came on to him, okay? And he was like so adamant about staying faithful, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But then he meets another girl, and then he suddenly couldn't resist. And while it is kind of relieving that he's not as perfect as I thought, it doesn't make him any likable. Cheating does not make him likable, you know? We find out that the girl that he slept with in the island, she was a prostitute hired by the head of securities so that they could take pictures of him having sex with her, and they will now have blackmail material to lord over him. It was all a setup. Before that, Mitch also sensed that there was someone following him. He gives them the runaround until they lose track of him, and then he takes a taxi all the way to the site where the drowning incident took place. Mitch confirms that what the firm told him was a lie. Mitch goes back, feeling very guilty, and he resolves to tell Abby that he cheated. As of right now, though, he has not said anything to her. Anyway, I'll see you in the next update. Alright, so now about 50% into the book, and finally things are slowly but surely coming together. Abby's obviously not happy that Mitch is working a lot, and at this point she's feeling she's competing with the firm. Mitch, for his part, is acting like he doesn't know anything, but he's actually waiting for updates from Eddie, the investigator that he hired. And when Eddie does update him, he tells him about the deaths of the lawyers. Eddie, the private eye, also confirms that the other 3 lawyers' deaths were also suspicious. So one of them, the woman, was in a car wreck due to a drunken driver, but the driver can't even be found, so there was no driver that was identified. There was another one who died in a hunting accident, but they don't know for sure. The authorities can't even explain how it happened. And the other one was ruled a suicide. But the mysterious thing about it is that this guy has never purchased a gun in his life, but the gun he used was a pretty old one, and basically the gun materialized out of nowhere. All those deaths were pretty suspicious. So Mitch is thinking about who he should really work for. Because he's such a good husband, he also lets Abby in on the whole thing about what's been happening, about the FBI approaching him, about the suspicions that the company is dirty. Basically, he tells her everything except him cheating on her. He had resolved to tell her, but he chickens out every time. This is why I don't particularly like him. He's proving to be not really a Gary Stu. It's clear that he has his faults, but showcasing it in a way where he's hiding something this big from his wife doesn't make him very likable. I think I mentioned that last time. So I feel very detached from him. Like, I don't feel like the stakes have gone up any higher. I just don't feel an emotional connection to him. I'm not very happy with Mitch right now. No. Anyway, and then what happens next is that Eddie gets killed. He was not careful enough. He gets assassinated by the mob, the Vasher's men. His secretary, Tammy, she's sort of painted as this femme fatale sort of secretary, and she's like this sexy little thing, reminds me of Jessica Rabbit. She contacts Mitch and tells her about, you know, what led up to Eddie being assassinated. And then we fast forward to, because there's a lot of quick scene changes in this book. So Mitch and Avery fly in different destinations. Avery to fly with some dirty money to the Cayman Islands, and Mitch to Washington because there's a tax seminar that he has to attend because the Congress has made some tax revision. Mitch is cornered by the FBI, and he meets the head of the FBI called Voiles. So Voiles reveals to him what the law firm really is, which has really deep ties to the mob. In fact, it was the mob who established the firm. So basically, Voiles explains all of this to Mitch just so Mitch will agree to work with them and work as their spy and as someone who can sneak files out and give them to the FBI so that the FBI can use this to indict and close down the firm. So that's where I'm at right now. So Mitch it's obviously going to be dangerous work, so he's at the point where he doesn't really know what to do. That's where we're at. The stakes have been raised, or at least it has for Mitch now that he knows that the firm really is with the mob. So yeah, I'm gonna continue reading and give you my next update soon. I'm now about 77% in. And so far, I'm loving that Mitch tells Abby everything that also transpired in Washington, except that he slept with another woman when he was on a business trip. And then we fast forward to Mitch having contact with the FBI agent Terrence again, and they get found out that Mitch is communicating with the FBI. This finally pushes Devasher, the head of security, to meet with Mitch, and Devasher shows him the pictures that he took of him sleeping with the sex worker in the Cayman Islands. And he blackmails Mitch that if he works with the FBI or is doing something that the firm disapproves of, he will mail these photos to Abby. So Mitch freaks out. All of this finally comes to a head, and Mitch finally decides to work with the FBI. Mitch starts to scheme to sneak the files out and make copies. But he can't make copies at the office because they have a state-of-the-art alarm system for the copy machines. I don't actually know if that exists in real life. Probably not, especially not in 1991. He develops a system by enlisting Hammy, remember the Private Eye secretary, who was also Slash's lover, and this is why she's also helping him. Obviously, Mitch is paying her too. And then fast forward to the future, and then there's this scene with Avery being at the Cayman Islands, and he's at the bar, he's womanizing, and then he catches the eye of this temptress. That temptress is Tammy, and Tammy seduces him, drugs him, and gets his keys. They have it copied, and they snatch all the files in the building that houses the partners, where the dirty files are. These are the files where Mitch has no access to. Only the partners has the access to these files. So that's why Tammy had to go undercover, and they make copies of it. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. It really reminds me of like those spy movies. I swear, Tammy is MVP. She's doing a lot. Not only is she like seducing men and also like roofing them, she's also disguising herself as a janitor for their building so she could also access these files, because after she seduces Avery, they made a copy of the keys that he had, and so she was able to access some of these drawers in the building that Mitch obviously cannot go to. She's MVP, I swear. This woman is made to be part of the CIA. Now it's turning into this cat and mouse game of who's one step ahead of the other. Other than that, I'm still very hung up on the fact that he still hasn't told Abby about the cheating. So far, it's okay. Overall impression so far is that it's playing like a movie in my head because I know that it is a movie. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. I'll finish the book, give you my last update, and my final thoughts. Alright, so I've just finished the book and I've got thoughts. I just finished it and I'm not really sure I liked it. I mean, okay, there are a few things that bother me, okay? And I don't know if it's because this book was published in 1991, but Mitch fully cheats on his wife, gets blackmailed over it, and then it just gets brushed off to the side. And it never comes up again, and there's no consequences for him. That's one thing that's been bothering me the entire time. But let me take you back to what happened after my last update. So basically, the firm catches on that Mitch might be doing something suspicious. So there's this cat and mouse of, you know, trying to be one step ahead of each other. They're trying to figure each other out. And then it all comes to a head when the FBI mole finally confirms that yes, Mitch is working with the FBI. And immediately, the FBI also finds out who this mole is and find out that he ratted Mitch out to the mob. And so Terrence, the FBI agent, calls Mitch, and Mitch walks right out of the firm and goes under. So everyone's going under. Tammy's in the back, just being the MVP, okay? She's my favorite character out of everyone in this book. And it all obviously ends well. There's like maybe one physical altercation in which one of the goons from the firm finds them, and Ray and Mitch kill him. Otherwise, it was all a lot of hiding and outsmarting, and I did like that. It played out like a movie in my head, so it was all very seamless. Mitch, Abby, and Ray hide in the Caribbean, and everyone is happy. They have 8 million in the bank. What's really bothering me about this book is that there are no consequences for Mitch. Like, after the infidelity thing, they made a big deal about being blackmailed about it. Abby does not know. Like, there are no consequences for him whatsoever. And there was even that part at the end that really annoyed me. Let me read it. So it's a dialogue between Mitch and Abby, and obviously Abby's sad that she has to leave her family and she can't contact them again until they're sure that the mob can't find them anymore and that they're truly buried. And they're now in the Caribbean. And so Mitch goes, "Abby, I have a confession to make." Abby goes, "I'm listening." "The truth is, I never wanted to be a lawyer anyway." "Oh, really?" "No. Secretly, I've always wanted to be a sailor." And then Abby goes, "Is that so? Have you ever made love on the beach?" Mitch hesitated for a slight second. This could have been the moment, okay? This could have been where he comes out and confesses. Or at least leave out the scene altogether and make up something witty instead, because now you've inculcated in my mind that he's still keeping secrets from her. Also, by the way, he also cheated once before. Prior to the one in the Cayman Islands, he also slept with another girl after he got engaged to Abby one drunken night, but before they were married. No consequences. No consequences whatsoever. This girl, Abby, gets embroiled in this mess, has to leave her parents behind, and basically really left her life with nothing but a toothbrush and like her underwear. And what? For a guy who cheated on her? Also, I'm also upset that they left her dog. So Abby this whole time had a dog named Hearsey. And for all this planning and stuff, Mitch couldn't figure out a way to get the dog to them. Like, we never know what the fate of the dog was. Like, Abby at the end was like, "I hope my neighbor adopts him." Like, what? I'm so upset. Like, Mitch is supposed to be like this wizard schemer, and he was able to outsmart both the mob and the FBI. And you're telling me there wasn't a way that you could have brought the dog along, or I don't know, have him delivered to them at some point? I'm not very happy with the ending of this book. I don't care about anyone except the dog and Tammy, okay? And I feel sorry for Abby. That's my initial impression of the finished book. I'm going to ruminate some more and see where I'm at, because I'm obviously very riled up by how things turned out in this book. So I will see you later for my final thoughts. Alright, let's get to some final thoughts on the book. I'm happy to announce that our main character is not a Gary Stu. So the author did not neglect giving him some flaws. My only problem is that his flaws are so unlikable that I just could not connect with him. Mitch is, like I said before, hyper capable. In the book, he's one of the top graduates from Harvard, got the highest score in the bar exam, on top of working, 80, 90 hours a week or something? Yeah, that level of impossibility had me quaking that he's like a Gary Stu. That aspect alone is not enough to make me not like a character. It just, in the beginning, felt like he was too perfect. He was in the football team, got a football scholarship as a quarterback, on top of being the top student. Were it not for a busted knee, he could have made it even bigger. And it's like, okay, we're achieving too much here. And I'm not saying that people like that don't exist. They probably do, but that is not the same for the majority of us. So it didn't really endear me to him, shall we say. And then the author does give us some flaws, but the most main thing is that he cheats on his wife. So yeah, I didn't like Mitch at all. But you know who I did like? His assistant, Tammy. Tammy is MVP. I swear, she did the most in this book. She was undercover and the girl did it so well, no one knew about her till the end of the book. The only other person that I also liked in the book is his wife, Abby, because she's really down to earth. She saw the signs early on. She knew that there was something up with this firm. She was a supportive wife. And you know what? I'm even more angry that Mitch cheats on her because of how much she sacrificed for him. She literally became a fugitive at the end of the book for him. And I'm just so mad because even till the end, Mitch does not say anything. Abby does not know that he cheated, and there's just no repercussions. No repercussions for him at all. Also, where is their dog? Telling me Mitch was able to move around these secret files, steal millions from the mob, and finesse a couple of million from the United States government, but he can't find a way to send their dog to them? I'm sorry? I'm so upset. He just left the dog there to starve. And at the end of the book, we see Abby hoping that their neighbor, who had kept leering at her in the beginning, mind you, so a bit of a pervert there, and someone I wouldn't trust my dog to, but Abby's hoping that he or she, her dog, is going to be adopted by this man. Okay. The more I say this out loud, the more upset I get. I gave this book on Goodreads 2.5 stars, okay? This is not like I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the cat and mouse game. I enjoyed how each team, I should say, between the FBI, the mob, and Mitch, outmaneuvered each other. But that was the only thing that I liked. Mitch as a main character sucked. One of the worst main characters I've ever come across. 2.5 stars, guys. Those are my final thoughts on this book. So, yeah. If you're looking for a book where you want to root for the main character, this is not the book for you. And that's where I will leave this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day.